and just an autocratic point of view, you know what? People are going to shut down and they're going to sit there and say, "Oh, look, there's another job. Well, I'll go work over there."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may not necessarily be a better job. It's just not with you. It's the kind of mindset. Yeah. Hi, I'm Kyle Weckerly, certified professional ghostwriter. I'm glad you're listening as I welcome industry experts to share stories. You'll hear of lessons learned the hard way, overcoming professional hurdles, turning experience into actionable knowledge, and how to connect with your target audience. This is the Career Challenges Podcast. Welcome to the Career Challenges Podcast. My guest for this episode is Ben Baker. Ben Baker is the president of Your Brand Marketing. He's a workshop creator and facilitator and also a fellow podcast host of Your Living Brand Live show. So Ben, thank you so much for joining me on the Career Challenges Podcast today.
Oh, I think we're going to have a really good time. Thanks for having me on the show, Kyle.
Awesome. And, we just started talking literally 5 minutes ago. I mean, we've been going back and forth via email, but just in 5 minutes, it's like, okay, this guy, he's cool. He's on the level. He knows how to talk. And it was very relaxing, I guess you should say, to work with fellow professionals. And that's not to say my guests, I should, back up here and not work my way into a corner. But that's not to say all my guests have not been professionals. It's just, when somebody's, got that experience, what it's like working with them. It's like, oh, this is a warm blanket. It feels so nice.
Yeah. I mean, being on podcasts, I think I have 170 of my show and then God knows 50 to 70 shows that I've done for other people. And, you have a lot of fun with it. And it's just one of those things that it's like exercising. The more you do it, the more comfortable it is and the easier it is. So let's just kick back. I am in your hands and you tell me, you throw questions at me and I'll throw answers at you. How's that for a deal?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good way to approach it here. So, just in doing research on you and learning more about your story and listening to your podcast as well, you didn't get into this right out of the gate. It was kind of a career change for you. What year exactly did it start for you?
Well, I got into the communications / marketing business about 24, 25 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but it was about 24, 25 years ago. I was in high tech, mm-hmm. and I was on the distribution side of it. I had one account. I had 30 staff, and they were worth about $100 million to me. Wow. And I spent most of my life on a plane, going from town to town, fixing problems and building, new clients and getting new product online and making sure that all the marketing programs were being done and, taking care of problems and all that kind of stuff. And I realized I'm never home. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't working for me anymore. I mean, I literally spent more time in the air than I probably did in my own house. Mm-hmm. And I just decided that, I just didn't want to do this anymore. I got very lucky and I said, listen, you guys can either double my salary to pay for the divorce or you can cut my days, my travel days in half. And they said, well, why don't we buy you out? I said, perfect. So they bought me out. And the deal was that I helped them hire my replacement. I flew them around. I introduced them to everybody and they let me out of it. And it was great. So I got about a 6-month, hiatus where I played a lot of golf. There you go. And, just sat around and didn't do a lot of stuff and goes, my wife finally says, you really should get a job. And I looked at it and I went, okay. And what I did is I had a really good friend of mine at the time who was an industrial psychologist. And I went, all right, let's pay him some money for me to run through a battery test to see what do you want to be when you grow up test. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, all right, what do you really want to do? Like, how do you really want to live the next 20 to 25 years? And what I realized is what I'm really good at and what I really like to do is communications. What I really like is telling stories. Mm-hmm. And I work really well with large corporations. I don't work well within large corporations. So it makes me a really good consultant. I'm really good at coming in, seeing what the problem is, helping companies fix it, turn things around, and then getting out.
Mm-hmm.
And letting them do what they need to do. And they call me back and they say, well, we didn't quite get this. No problem. Let's reiterate. Let's build a new system. Let's get a new process, do a little bit more training, a little bit more workshops. And then out the door I go again. And I've really enjoyed doing that. And what I realized over the last 5 to 7 years, and your brand marketing is 12 years old now, is where my real passion is inside of a company. It's the internal communication. It's getting people to understand, who they are, what they do, why they do it, and getting their staff to understand that, getting them engaged, retaining staff, growing staff, building leaders, and getting them to understand how their individual work matters and how it matters to build over the original success of the company. So that's where we've evolved into. We started off 25 years ago, I guess, in direct mail, promotional marketing, trade show development, social media marketing. I've pretty much done it all, but it all came down to, what is your story? Mm-hmm. What do you really do? How do you differentiate yourself? Why should anybody care about you? And that's where it's really evolved into.
Awesome. And so I kept seeing you repeat this over and over again. Every employee that you lose or leaves your company, it costs you $100,000. How did you come up with that number?
Well, the number is actually really conservative. People sit there and say, "Oh, it can't be that much." I said, "Okay, let's go through this." And there's a calculator, and I can give you a link to the calculator, and we can put that in the show notes for people. But it has very little to do with the cost of hiring somebody. Yes, there's the cost of hiring people. Yes, there's the cost of onboarding people, but it's all the costs around it. When people leave, customers leave. When people leave, jobs get ruined, or they get misplaced, or they don't happen. When people leave, all of a sudden a department is down 1 or 2 people, and all of a sudden they're not as efficient or effective as they need to be. There's so many things going on. When you're hiring people, your managers who have to take the time to read resumes and then interview people are not doing the jobs that they really should be doing. So it's all the inefficiencies around hiring somebody, and the fact that customers could leave at the same time, or an employee leaves and they take 2 or 3 people with them. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that can cost a company money that they're not even thinking about. Mm-hmm. That $100,000 is nothing. It truly is nothing. They say if an executive leaves you, it could be 2 to 3 times that executive's salary what it costs you to replace them, mm-hmm. if not more. Oh, so the numbers are staggering.
Yeah. And is that just any company? Or is that just kind of a specific industry or companies above?
Let's call that on
line?
Average. Let's call the $100,000 a good average.
Okay.
There will be companies that'll be $80,000. There'll be companies that's $140,000. But if we take $100,000 as an average, we're probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Do I have the exact number for every single company? Absolutely not. But if we take that $100,000 as a number to be thinking about of all the things that could go wrong and do go wrong because one person leaves, you're going to come up with that $100,000 bill pretty quickly.
Yeah. It kind of makes me want to go back to my pizza delivery job and tell them, like, hey guys, you lost $100,000 when I left, but I don't think they'll see it that way.
Well, even that, I mean, let's just sit on that. This is the $100,000 as a pizza delivery guy. The time, think about all the money that could be lost. What if you had a guy that was stealing money for you and you didn't know it, and then he leaves? What if you had somebody that was, trashed one of your cars, mm-hmm. or was really giving you a horrible reputation in the neighborhood, and all of a sudden all the pizza that would normally come to you start going to your competitor, because if you had a really bad employee and all the pizzas showed up cold, or they were biting slices out of it, or God knows what else we could do, or they were dropping boxes before they got it to the doorstep. All of a sudden, all those pizzas you were counting on to be delivered in your neighborhood, your competitor was getting those pizzas. So even with somebody that's a pizza delivery guy, if you get rid of the wrong person and you'll get rid of them fast enough, you could cause a huge problem with your reputation.
Definitely. Definitely. Good point. So, so you talk about internal storytelling within a company and getting the employees kind of on board or to believe in the story. I mean, what is the simple goal there that people can start with, like right now? If they're listening to the podcast, they're like, "Well, I need to start incorporating this into my organization."
Yeah.
What is kind of a simple starting point for them?
Well, let's take it back 3 steps. A lot of companies, most large companies, mid-sized companies, have mission and vision statements.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with a mission and vision statement is nobody remembers them. Nobody lives them within companies. Nobody believes in them because they're not lived every single day. A brand story is, where did you come from? Where are you today? What were the challenges and successes that got you from that place to where you are today? Who do you serve? Why do you serve them? Why do these people care about you? And by the way, where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that, it's the hero's journey. Think of it like the Lion King.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that, Simba was born, he became king, and the world was better. It's the challenges that you go along the way that make it a more interesting story, both for your customers, also your vendors, and also the employees inside the company. It gives them something not only to believe in, but something that they can remember, something that they can retell in their own language, they'll internalize, and therefore all of the decisions that start being made for the company are based on a brand story that people remember, people live in, people believe in. So that's the reason to have a brand story.
Wow. Awesome. And so when you're helping companies to do this, and they're coming up hopefully with this brand story, I guess you should ask it this way. Don Miller says you should kind of position yourself as the guide. Are you trying to do something like that or something similar with your storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, what you're trying to do is have everybody within the company understand what differentiates yourself from your competition. What are the little things that differentiate yourself? If you're a hardware store, Lowe's versus Home Depot, from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
they look exactly the same.
Yeah, just different color schemes.
You can walk into one, you can buy a hammer. You walk into the other one, you can buy a hammer. Both of them are going to have Robertson or Phillips screwdrivers. They're going to have everything about the same, and they're going to be about the same price. But each one has their own mandate. Each one has their own customers. They have people who says, we want customers that are like this. The Home Depot philosophy is the DIY crowd. Mm-hmm. It's the people that want to get in, and it's the mompreneurs and whoever that want to learn how to tile, and they've got the classes right there to teach people how to tile, how to paint, how to grout, how to do whatever it is, and be able to do that. So it's a different, it's a different reason for the company being than Lowe's is. They're very different in terms of the philosophy and their brand story and where they came from and where they're going. They both sell hammers. They both have nails. They both have screwdrivers. But it's those little things that make them different that are part of that brand story, and that needs to resonate with the employees, because if it resonates with the employees, it will resonate with the customers.
Definitely. And so when have companies come back to you after doing your workshops and your trainings and said, okay, we've seen a definite uptick in our retention and in our employee, I guess, happiness. I don't know if you can even measure that. And so what kind of feedback are you getting from companies after they've worked with you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us is engagement and productivity of the workforce. Mm-hmm. And really, if you have an engaged and productive workforce, you're going to have a better experience for your customers. Like, if you have employees that are excited to come to work, if they know what they need to do and they're excited about doing it, they're going to provide a better customer experience for your customers. You're going to get more loyal customers, and guess what? Profits are going to rise. Mm-hmm. It's all going to happen. And those are the stories that I hear on a regular basis. And it's just the thing is, because right now, Inc. Magazine is saying, I believe it's Inc. Magazine is saying, is that 70% of employees are disengaged, And Forbes is saying that 50% of employees are out there looking for another job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even if we could cut those numbers in half, think of the productivity. Think of the amazing things that could happen in a company if 35% of your employees were disengaged instead of 70. If 25% of people in your company were out there looking for a job instead of 50% of the people looking for a job. And once you start getting those numbers lower and lower, it becomes an exponential thing. Because if you have a successful company and people want to be there and they're excited, then less and less people are going to be wanting to leave, and more people are going to want to do better because they're excited about coming to work. It's a snowball effect.
Mm-hmm. So was there ever a company, and you don't have to be specific here, but was there a company where you walked in and you just were, like, oh my gosh, how could it get any worse than this company? Has there been an experience like that for you?
I think I would say any company that has a management philosophy versus a leadership philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And let me explain that. It's a management philosophy is getting things done versus inspiring people.
Mm-hmm.
It's building things versus building people. A leadership management team, a leadership team is one that tries to get the best out of people. It's one that inspires people and trains them and motivates them and inspires them to be better and gives them the tools and the authority and the empowerment to make mistakes and learn from them without the fear of retribution. A management system is a thumbs down approach.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you're in a thumbs down approach where it's all carrot and stick, where it's all do this or there will be retribution, you realize that there's going to be more problems. I've had clients that are government clients, and when you're dealing, sometimes when you're dealing with management versus union, you run into a lot more challenges in that respect, and the politics that go along with it. But I find that any company where they have more of a manager philosophy than a leadership philosophy, that's when you start having more challenges, and it's trying to break that mentality.
So what are some approaches that you use to get managers, quote unquote managers, to stop thinking like managers and start thinking as leaders?
My online course, I have both a 2-day live and intensive workshop and an online course of the same name. It's called How to Retain Employees Through Leadership. And the basic philosophy is people call them the soft skills. I call them the human skills. Mm-hmm. It's teaching people the human skills. The first thing I ask people is, what are you passionate about and why are you passionate about it? And different people are going to be passionate about different things. Me, it's golf. Somebody else, it's tennis. Somebody else, it's Mozart. Somebody else, it's opera. It doesn't matter what you're passionate about. The question is, why are you passionate about it? What is it that absolutely drives you to get up out of bed and do that? And once you can get people to understand why they're passionate about their passion, it says, well, what about the people that work with you? What are they passionate about? Well, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Have you ever asked them? I mean, if you're passionate about this, they're obviously passionate about something. Mm-hmm. And if you can get them to be curious about the people on a human level and treat people as human beings and not just a cog in the system, they go from being managers to being leaders. And I think that that's the first step, is getting people to understand what are people that you lead passionate about and how do you bring out those passions in them, or motivate them so that they can follow their passions, and then you take a look and says, well, how do you like to be communicated with? Mm-hmm. Well, I like a direct approach this and that. I says, does everybody in your office feel the same way? Well, I don't know. Well, let's go ask them. Yeah. And people want to be communicated differently. And you're going to communicate to an extrovert different than you are an introvert. And you need to understand, how do people like to be communicated to? Some people text, some people like the Slack channel, some people like an email, some people like a one-on-one conversation, some people learn better through video, some people learn better through reading a memo. And you need to appreciate, how do people learn? Because just because you've sent information out doesn't mean it was understood, mm-hmm. let alone absorbed.
Yeah.
So the trick is to getting people to absorb what you're sending out, so that way they can sit there and say, oh, I now understand why we need to do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so you had mentioned your favorite author and book was Getting to Yes by Yuri. Am I saying that right, Yuri?
Yeah.
So why that book, and how has that helped you in your mission of, getting better internal storytelling?
Yeah. I mean, he's written 2 books. He and his partner, I'm trying to remember. Yuri is URY is one of the authors. There's 2 authors there. It's called Getting to Yes, and the other one is Getting Past No. And they're really quick reads. I mean, literally, you could read them in 2 or 3 hours if you just
Wow.
sit down and read. They're very quick reads. But what I like about them is the philosophy is you need to understand first. You need to understand the other person's point of view first. If you can understand somebody else's point of view, you don't have to agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
Sympathy and empathy are not the same thing. Empathy is understanding somebody else's point of view, being able to see what their shoes look like. You may not agree with it. You may have a different philosophy, but you need to be able to understand things from their point of view so you could have a conversation. Say, look, I understand it this way. You understand it that way. I get it, but how do we work on something that's going to be mutually beneficial? Mm-hmm. If it's just my way or the highway and, just an autocratic point of view, you know what? People are going to shut down and they're going to sit there and say, oh, look, there's another job. Well, I'll go work over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may not necessarily be a better job. It's just not with you. It's
kind of the mindset. Yeah. People leave managers. They leave people that don't lead them. Mm-hmm. They lead people that are autocratic, that don't listen to them, that don't understand them, and don't value them.
Would you like to be a guest on the Career Challenges podcast? Go to careerchallengespodcast.com to find out how. While you're there, check out other episodes and download them through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. The Career Challenges podcast is hosted by me, Kyle Weckerly. I'm a certified professional ghostwriter who works with business thought leaders and industry experts to write polished manuscripts, assess their publishing options, and create book marketing plans. I've worked with consultants, high-ticket salespeople, coaches, speakers, C-level executives, and business owners. My authors have worked for USAA, Vistage, Booz Allen Hamilton, Austin Technology Council, and the John Maxwell team. My authors want to write a book to serve as a platform for their marketing endeavors. They know that becoming an author will help them secure speaking gigs, market their expertise, promote a product or service, and more. Are you ready to turn your experience, knowledge, and stories into actionable advice and connect with your ideal client? Then visit WeckerlyWriter.com to schedule a consultation today and begin your publishing journey. That's WeckerlyWriter.com. WeckerlyWriter.com. And now, back to the Career Challenges podcast.
Empathy, it feels so easy to say you have to feel for people, or you have to understand where they're coming from, but it's not, is it?
No.
So, I mean, how can you teach that to somebody who A, may not necessarily want to take that step or that change, and B, what is an approach that would help?
I think it's a matter of try it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to try it, and you need to honestly try it. There's no quick fix. There is no hack for any of this kind of stuff. Leadership is something, it's like everything else in life. The more you do it, the more you engage, the more you spend time and effort on it, the better it gets and the easier it gets. Mm-hmm. There is no quick fix or no easy way to become a great leader. And the only way to become a great leader is to sit there and say, how do I make other people's lives better? Mm-hmm. That's what you need to wake up every single morning doing. It says, how do I make other people's lives better? How do I help them achieve their goals? How do I allow them to achieve greatness on their terms? Because not everybody is going to be Baryshnikov. Not everybody is going to play in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to make $100 million. But if you can understand is, what does great look to you?
Mm-hmm.
What's your vision of success? And people sit there and say, you know what? I really love my job. I want to be the best executive assistant out there. I want to be able to take care of my boss, and I want to make sure that I make their life stress-free.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing thing to think of.
Yeah.
There's a person who is realized that this is what they're really good at. This is something that they're really passionate about. So it's making them the best EA that they can be.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being the best, plumber you can be, or electrician you can be, or, ditch digger that you can be. If that's where your aspirations lie, if that's where you believe you are happiest, that's great. But if the person's doing a job that they're miserable in, your job as a leader is to find out, why are they miserable? Why are they so unhappy, and help them get to a point where they're happy. The quote I like to use is, your brand is only as valuable as your unhappiest employee on their worst day.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big one too. It's very thought-provoking. But, even if a leader, recognizes that somebody is miserable in a position, and that may mean they need to get out of the company, how can they handle that situation?
You know what? It's never easy, but you need to be able to have those frank conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Being a great leader in any way, shape, or form, whether you're a frontline leader or you're, the CEO or the founder of the company, it's your job to have those conversations. And that's what you're there for. You're not there to push paper. You're not there to create budgets. You're there to lead people, and the other stuff comes along with it. But your people are your biggest asset, and sometimes the person that you have in your company is probably better off being in another company. But it's a matter of having those conversations and doing it in a way that's human, and not making their life miserable so they quit. It's sitting there going, you're not happy. No, I'm not happy. Why aren't you happy? Well, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, well, we can't fix that. We don't have, I understand you want to do this. We don't have a position open for you in that place. Tell you what, I'm going to fire you in 1 year. No, and I've heard this conversation. I'm going to fire you in 1 year. You have 1 year to go out there and look and find that perfect job, and the one that you really want, or 6 months or 9 months or whatever. But in 9 months or a year, I'm going to fire you. So I'm giving you a 1 year runway or a 9 month runway to go out there and find that great job. And guess what? I will give you a resounding,
recommendation
that goes with it. And if they call me, I will say, you are a great employee. We just didn't have the right position for you. We didn't have the opportunity to make you happy doing the thing that you're really good at. And it's working with those employees. And it may mean bringing in industrial psychologists and finding out what is going to make this person happy. And maybe you can make this person happy, but you've invested months, years, decades with this person within your corporation. You've already, you have the sunk costs of all the salary and all the stuff that this person's done. Why not invest a little bit more to make sure that when they leave, or if they leave with their head held high and with a really good view of the company in the rearview mirror? Mm-hmm. Because they will speak well of your company instead of speaking ill of it.
Yeah. So they could also think of it as a marketing, not necessarily traditional marketing, but just another marketing arm for them. They've helped this person. They're going to go out and say, hey, I worked for a great company.
Yeah.
I just wasn't a good fit there. And so now I'm doing this, but they were a great company. So you should work with them. So, you could approach it like that, just thinking about that. But empathy, for you, how are you able to empathize with people of vastly different backgrounds? What is it that you do to try and step into their shoes and walk a mile?
It's not always easy. It's not always simple. I have people that have profess things that I sit there and go, in the back of my mind, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely nuts. Why you think that, or why you think that that's a good idea, or why you think you should be doing this, you're crazy. My view to them is, the nice thing about being a consultant is I can come in and I can ask the hard questions. I can sit there and say, well, why do you think that?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the worst they're going to do? They're going to fire me. Okay, they're going to write me a check and they're going to send me on my way. But my thought process is I want to understand, why do you think that way? Well, no, that's not good enough. Give me a real answer. Well, let's dive into this. I mean, what's underlying this? What's the underlying emotion that's keeping you from doing this? And it's diving deeper and being able to be in their face and make them just enough uncomfortable that they have to come up with the answers. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that a consultant can do that sometimes somebody within the company can't, is that you can come in and you can be that voice either of reason or unreasonableness, to be able to sit there and say, how do we make a dynamic change within the company to make it better? And sometimes, it could be a policy and procedure that nobody's willing to say, this is a really dumb thing, but everybody's thinking it.
Yeah.
And if I can up for that, it says, you guys do this, that's the stupidest thing, and this is why. And everybody goes, yeah, but they're afraid to say it inside the company.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes that external voice to be able to say what people in the company have been thinking, or even what they've been saying, but nobody's listening.
Mm. Wow. That's awesome. Shifting gears a little bit here, but your book, Powerful Personal Brands, A Hands-On Guide to Understanding Yours, walk me through your idea for writing the book. When did it start for you, when you decided, or maybe looking back, you may not have known it at the point, but looking back, you're like, okay, that's the point where the idea, or the seed for the idea for the book, came from.
Well, I know exactly where the seed of the idea came from. It was probably mid-year, end of the year 2017, when it was probably October 2017. 4 times a year, I go up to the universities and I work with their third-year marketing students, and I teach them networking and I teach them interview skills. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that these kids are ultra smart. They are incredibly smart. They're talented, and they can't articulate their value to save their own lives. They can't, because they just don't have enough life experience to do it. Every once in a while you'll see the odd bright light that, for whatever reason, can sit there and articulate it, and they're passionate, this, that, the other thing. But the majority of these kids have spent their entire lives in academia, where their job is to repeat what somebody else has told them. Mm-hmm. And therefore that unconscious free thought ability to actually articulate your own point of view is a foreign thing to them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I try to get at, move them away from. And what I realize is, guys, you have to be passionate about who you are. First of all, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you are, and you have to be comfortable in your own skin. Well, how do you do that? And I said, okay, well, let's try to find some books to help these kids with it. And there was nothing that I read that really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. So I wrote it in 45 days.
Wow.
I sat down in 45 days, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, and wrote it in 45 days, and then handed it to my editors, and they hacked it to pieces. We added chapters, we deleted chapters, we changed a few chapters. My wife says, well, you can't say that. I went, well, why not? Well, you should say it this way instead. All right, I'll say it this way instead. And so that's how the book came out. And what it is, it's stories from my life. It's lessons that I've learned from those stories. And at the end of most chapters, I ask a question, and then I leave 2 or 3 pages of blank lines where people can answer those questions on their own. And the other thing I did is I grabbed 12 of my friends who are CEOs or senior executives in major companies, and I asked them the same 4 questions. And what I did is I took those 4 questions and I edited them for, there were spelling mistakes and a few grammatical mistakes, but I took them pretty much 98% of what they were, and I put them as chapters within the book. Mm-hmm. So not only are you getting my opinion, but you're also getting 12 opinions from 12 different CEOs from across the country, to talking about what is a personal brand and what does it mean to them and how has it helped them in their lives. So the book is really designed almost like a workbook. Mm-hmm. It really truly is. It's far more of a workbook than anything else. And it allows people the ability to sit there and say, oh, okay. And they can write in pencil, or they can write in pen, and they can write in the margins, and they can cross stuff out, and they can highlight stuff, and they can dog-ear pages. And that's when I'm happiest. Mm-hmm. I am absolutely happiest when people, break the spine of my book because they've written in it so much. Call me. I'll replace it for free. If you do that, I will replace your book for free.
Sounds like a challenge.
Absolutely. Send me your old book. And your address. I'll send you another one for free. I'll probably send you 2. But the trick is to get people to understand that this is a life journey, and the decisions that you make at 21, 22, 23 years old are going to change when you're 35, 36, 37, and they're going to change again when you're 55, 56, 57. As you gain more life experience, your thoughts and your beliefs and your desires are going to change, and that's okay. A brand is a living, breathing thing, and it evolves. And we need to realize that, we are a culmination of the people we met, the experiences we had, the challenges that we've been through, and the things that we've learned. And the more experience that we have, it changes who we are. And I think that those are really neat things. And the nice thing about this book is, once you understand yourself, once you understand, codify, and communicate your own value, it makes you a better leader.
Definitely. So then you said you wrote it in 45 days, which is impressive. How long is the book, like total page count?
It's about 200 pages.
200. That's impressive. 45 days,
it's 200 pages. And it came out on my birthday, September 2018. September 5th, 2018, it came out on my birthday.
That's a good birthday gift.
Well, I decided, I was going to give myself a nice piece of paper for my birthday. I think I unwrapped a box with 50 copies in it on my birthday.
There you go. So then, with the editing process, and you mentioned, how it was rough, people cutting stuff, and you're having to add stuff. Do you feel the book kind of changed from what you originally envisioned to what it was in the final product? Like, I'm sure it wasn't a massive change, but you're just like, okay, now I have a better idea of what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, when you put stuff down, it makes sense in your head. Mm-hmm. It absolutely makes sense in your head. The first thing I can tell people when you write a book, don't edit as you write it. Don't write it as you write. Just free form write. You know what? And there's going to be garbage in there, and there's going to be stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's going to be stuff that that's absolutely brilliant, and you'll edit it later, and you'll make it tighter, and you'll make it better later, and you'll sit there and say, somebody's going to sit there and say, what did you mean by this paragraph? Well, I meant this. Well, that's not what you said. Oh, okay, and be able to read it, because as it's coming off the end of your fingertips, you know what you're trying to say, mm-hmm. and maybe you didn't say it as articulately as you did in your own head, but that's okay, because you got the basic premise down, and you can always make it better. There's a difference between making it better and making it perfect. Nobody writes the perfect book. Mm. Nobody writes the perfect book. That's why there's revisions of books. That's why books today, you know what? You can always go back and create a second edition of a book. You can always go back and make a third edition of a book, mm-hmm. and put in an extra chapter, or take out a chapter, doing it. Don't let perfection get in your way of getting it out the door. Make it so good that you're proud of it, and you can hand it out to somebody and say, you know what? I wrote this, mm-hmm. and be proud to hand that over. But don't expect perfection, because if you wait till the book is perfect, it will sit and collect dust as a manuscript the rest of your life.
Sure. No truer words have been spoken about writing a book. So then you said you wrote it for students, and it came out September of 2018. I guess in that short of time between the book debuting and now, have you seen kind of the effects you were hoping to create?
Yeah, I mean, have we sold 1 million copies of it and changed 1 million lives? No, we haven't. Yeah, I'm relying on every single person who listens to this podcast to buy 20 copies, and send it out to your friends. Buy 30 copies. I'll send them to me. I'll autograph them and then we'll send them back.
There we go.
But the book is for sharing. It really truly is. It really does make a great gift for people, not to plug my own horn or toot myself, but what you're doing is you're giving somebody the ability to self-actualize, to really dig deep into who they are.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. It's not $1 million. It's not $10 million. It's not wealth. It's not fame. It's changing lives. And that's why I really want to write. And it's great. It's a great book for people that are, interviewing for jobs. It's a great book for people that are looking to be promoted within companies. It's a great book for entrepreneurs to understand themselves, especially when they become first-time leaders. It's a great book for a variety of people that are just trying to make themselves better and trying to get people to understand who they are. And get people to understand your value. It's not being an influencer in the internet sense of the word of look at me. It's, you can trust me.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is what I'm all about. This is what I do. This is how I help you. You can trust me. And those are powerful words. And if you can understand who the people are that you can truly help, you can understand how you help them, and you can articulate to them those salient points, you can build a tribe. And that small tribe, it doesn't have to be a big tribe, will tell your story for you, and then it starts to ripple effect.
Wow. That's awesome. So then, hopefully people will read the book and then, go out into the working world. But what happens if, let's take me, for example, I know what I'm about. I know what my brand is and what I want to do. But, what if I find myself in a job that obviously is not aligned to that? The upper management just doesn't care. They just want me to do X. And if I get enough of X done every day, then they'll give me the paycheck at the end of the day. And it's a very toxic environment. What can I do in that situation to improve that job? I mean, obviously I'm looking for something else, but in the meantime, what can I do to improve that situation?
What you can do in that particular situation is learn as much as you humanly can. Learn about what you like, learn about what you don't like, learn about why you don't like it. See what's going on in different departments. How do the different departments engage with each other? How does the process work, and how does the flow work? How do the politics work within the company? What are the challenges? What do they do well? Because they still do things well. Even the most dysfunctional companies do things well. If they didn't, they wouldn't still be in business.
True.
And you need to sit there and say, what can I learn from this experience? I don't want to be here forever. Fine. Great. I'm not going to be able to change the work environment that I'm in, but what I can do is I can make myself better while I'm here. I can, go to different conferences while I'm here. I can learn different skills from different departments while I'm here. I can get a mentor in a different department who's not my manager because my manager doesn't treat me well, who I can learn from while I'm here. I can learn more about the business of business while I'm here. And the more you can learn about the greater thing and not just the narrow thing that you do when you put your butt in the chair, the better off you are and the more valuable you are to somebody else when you can say that. And then you can sit there and say, why did you leave? I says, you know what? I left because I learned everything that I need to learn from this company. And I was looking for some different experiences, not the fact that, the company that I worked for just sucked it and they just treated me like horrible and I just need to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I've heard that people interviewing. I've heard people interview slagging the company that they're currently working for, in the middle of an interview with somebody else. Why do they want to hire you if that's your viewpoint?
Mm.
It's what can I take out of this situation that's going to make me better? They're paying you anyway. You might as well learn.
True.
The challenge is, and I'll wax a little bit while you're thinking,
Sure.
is that, in the end, we're all people.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying about what do you do if you work in a toxic environment. The trick is to understand, why are these people toxic? Why are people unhappy? And whether your boss is unhappy or, your boss's boss is unhappy, what are the things that are motivating them to be unhappy? Are they having, God forbid their kids are sick, or they're going through a divorce, or they have a parent who's dying, or, there is some challenges going on outside their life, or somebody else is making their life miserable and they don't have the power to be able to change it. There are motivations of why anybody is miserable within a company. Nobody's miserable for no particular reason.
Sure.
There's usually some piece of something that's causing people to be unhappy within a company. Usually it has something to do with they're not listened to, they're not valued, and they're not understood, and they're not given the power and the authority to do their job effectively, and they feel that they're being micromanaged. That's reality. And the more we can understand the motivations of why other people are doing what they're doing, we can sit there and say, wait a second, how can we help them do their job and make their lives easier? So maybe what that's going to do is it's going to take some stress off them so they stop being so miserable.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So you had mentioned industrial psychologists and helping you, determine what you wanted to be when you grow up. What if those resources aren't available? Are there like books, online courses that people can take to help them, get to that point?
Yeah. I mean, for $40 or $50, and I don't remember exactly how much it is, there is an online thing called Strength Finders 2.0. Mm-hmm. And Strength Finders is a phenomenal course. What it is, it's a series of 150 or 200 questions online. And what it does is it ranks. And you get a 10 or 15 page report. Now, Strength Finders feels that there's 30 or 32 strengths that are typical of people. But what they do is they focus on what are the top 5 that you have. You've got all 32. It's just to what varying degrees. And it's sitting there saying, because these are your 5 top strengths, these are the type of things you should be doing. These are the type of things, the type of work you should be doing, the type of activities you should be doing, how you relate to people, the type of people you should be around, etc. And it goes into some really good detail for $40 or $50. And it's called Strength Finders 2.0, and I think it's by Gallup. And for that, it's really insightful. And it gives you some really good insight about who you are, because here's the truth of the matter is, too many people focus on the stuff they're really bad at. Mm. They say, I can't do this, and I can't do that, I can't do the other thing, and I'm not good at this, I can't paint, I can't draw, I'm not good at speaking in public, blah, 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 blah. But they don't focus on the things that they're really good at. And if you took all the energy that you utilize on focusing on the negative and turn it around and say, you know what, these are the things that I do really well, and this is what I'm really passionate about it. I'm going to make friends with somebody who's really passionate about the stuff that I suck at. And I'm going to sit there and say, you know what, if I have to pay this person to do the stuff that I suck at, fine, no problem, because it keeps me from having to do it. You don't want me painting your house. You don't want me doing your taxes for you. There are people that do it way better than I do and like doing it way more than I do. I would much rather focus on workshops, keynotes, and consulting and internal consulting and helping people, and spending my time doing that and hiring somebody to paint my house for me or do my taxes for me. Why should I feel bad because I don't do my own taxes? Guess what? I don't have to. I make enough money that I can afford to pay somebody to do my taxes for me. So, so why focus on the stuff that I don't do well when somebody else can do it far more efficiently? And my time, the money that I pay this person is far less than the money that I make, taking that same amount of time.
Mm-hmm. True.
So Strength Finders is a great one. There's also DISC, DISC, which is another set of tests that you can take. Those, depending on who you get to administer, are $100, $150, $200, something like that. So it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. There are lots of online testing that you can do. That they can do it. I think in my book, and I can't remember the name of it. Oh, it's 16. I think it's 16 personalities. 16personalities.com.
Yeah, I took that one,
one's
and
free.
I really liked.
That one's free. Yeah. So that one, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it pretty basic? Yeah, but it gives you at least a litmus test. It gives you a place to start. Mm-hmm. And that's what sometimes all you need. Sometimes all you need is somewhere to sit there and say, okay, here's the line on the sand. Here's where I am today. I want to get there. What are the skills that I'm missing to get me from here to there? Or who do the people I need to meet to get me from here to there? Or what are the experiences I need to have to get me from here to there? Mm. But at least you have a line in the sand to say, this is where I am. This is where I currently am able to do, and the experiences I have and the knowledge that I have. And this is where I want to go. Okay, let's take a look at the gaps and figure out what we need to do to get there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I'll have to find those links and put them in the show notes as well for people who listen to the episode. But before we go, I always want to ask, what is next for Ben Baker?
You know what's next for Ben Baker right now is it's promoting the online course, the How to Retain Employees through Leadership course. Hopefully before the end of the year, there's going to be a course on personal branding. That's also coming up. That we're working on that. I'm just in negotiations right now, and need to write the course and be able to do that. I'd love to get another book out this year. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. My goal was to write the next book in 2020. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, you know what? We'll give ourselves a pass. We can't do everything.
True.
But that's where it is for me. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for companies that are looking for an inspirational keynote to come in and have a conversation with their people, and I combine it with a series of workshops. And after that, we do some aftermarket training. Mm-hmm. And what we do is it's not what you learn the day of. Like I can inspire people over 2 or 3 days, get them all excited, get them there. But if they don't have the habit forming over the next 6 months, they're just going to revert to their old tendencies. Mm-hmm. So it's those ongoing training that I really love with people, to sit there and say, you know what were the challenges you were having? Mm-hmm. All right, tell me a little bit about the situation. What did you do? Well, did you think about this? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's all people need.
Definitely. So obviously I'm going to have links to all your stuff in the show notes, but if somebody's listening right now and they're like, I've got to get in touch with Ben Baker from my organization, how can they find you?
Well, my cell number, which is always the best way to get in touch with me, I always answer my cell at 604-512-7174. And otherwise, through my website is probably the best way to get in touch with me, through yourbrandmarketing.com. Everything is there. Links to my, my speaking page, my workshops, my online workshops, my podcast, other podcasts that I've been on. Everything is repository in that one website, into yourbrandmarketing.com. And, there's even a contact us page.
Awesome. Well, a lot of great stuff, Ben. Thank you so much for your time and for being on the Career Challenges podcast with me today. You know what? It was a pleasure. I'm glad you asked me, because we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Yes, a lot of fun. I always love it.
Thank you for listening to the Career Challenges podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Career Challenges podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Visit careerchallengespodcast.com for more information. Schedule your free consultation with Kyle Weckerly by visiting weckerlywriter.com today. That's WECKERLYWRITER.com. Thank you.